What's up, everybody? This is Pablo Jurado from Living in Madrid, Spain. I've been living here in Madrid for over 30 years, and I every single day fall in love with this city a little bit more. Today, I have something really special for you. We're going to dive into a real client story. A family from Florida who had a tight deadline to find a perfect apartment for their son before university started. It wasn't easy, and trust me, they had a rough start, but together we made it happen in just 15 days. In this interview, you'll hear directly from Boris, the father, about their experience and how we turned things around. Later on, we'll also be joined by Katia, the amazing attorney who helped us with the legal process and the golden visa. So, if you're thinking of moving to Madrid or investing in a property here, don't hesitate. Give me a call, send me an email, or fill out the form in my website, livinginmadridspain.com. I absolutely love to help people relocate or invest in the Madrid area. And of course, I can make that transition so much easier for you. Now, let me introduce you to Boris. Hi, Boris. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very, very good.
Hi,
Thank you
Pablo.
very much. Thank you for joining us in this live for this interview. Boris, I wanted to start by please telling you to the audience a bit about your situation before you contacted me. What led you to search for a property in Madrid for your son?
Well, the property wasn't really for me. It was driven by the fact that our son, Michael, decided to move to Madrid to pursue a degree in studies in psychology in Madrid. Kind of a banal story. Boy meets girl. Boy falls in love with a girl. Girl lives in Madrid. Boy follows her to Madrid. Michael is a pretty serious young man. He really knows what he wants, but he's fallen in love with Katia, who is a girl who's a Madrileña like yourself, and so he decided to move. He's been visiting Madrid for well over a year, really fallen in love with everything, and did a marvelous job of preparing for the move as far as establishing all that is necessary for one to immigrate and to live in Madrid, establishing his NIE numbers, his visas, translating all his documents, etc. But he met really significant difficulties in finding himself a place to live. He's identified a number of apartments that were great, that he felt would work for him really, really well. He felt that, we felt that the cost was very reasonable, but there was no one that was willing to rent to him for a variety of reasons. They would state the fact that he was a student, the fact that he didn't work in Spain, and a plethora of various excuses. But we felt that he just couldn't break through that wall, and we decided it was due to his inexperience, and we would come to Spain with him, hire a reputable real estate agency, and that would lead us to identifying a proper dwelling for him.
Mhm.
And that's where we run into a lot of difficulties.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the difficulties for expats to rent a place in Madrid is a hell of an issue, and it could give us content for another life. But you said that it was kind of a frustrating experience with local real estate agents before you actually decided to call me. Why? What wasn't working in that process?
So we actually prepared for this. So we identified an agency in U.S. in Florida called Engel and Booker, which is a multinational agency that represents real estate in a variety of countries. And a local agent connected us with an agent in Madrid, and we very clearly defined what it was that we were looking for. So part of the of course, stipulations, or rather, what we were looking for was was a one-bedroom apartment for him. He does, he's a single boy. He doesn't intend to live with anyone. He doesn't intend to sublet. And we wanted him to be in close enough proximity to his school. And he, of course, wanted to be in close enough proximity to his girlfriend, Lucia. And the two, meaning the school and her dwelling, are on the opposite sides of town. So we've provided that data, and then when we said we're coming to Madrid, we're landing on Monday morning. We're ready with our hiking shoes on. Let's get going. Let's get started. Show us 1,000 apartments so we can pick quickly. We're limited in time. We landed on September 3rd. No, we landed on August 27th, I believe, Monday, and we wanted to start immediately. The agent struck me as very odd in the sense that it was completely different from what you'd expect from a U.S. agent, where they're very gung-ho. They'll meet you in the airport, if anything, and start showing you everything. He said, no, we have to meet in the office first. Let's do it tomorrow, and I'll present the apartments to you at that time. We were a little put off, but we enjoyed the day in Madrid for sure. And then on Tuesday morning, we met up in his office, which was in close proximity to where we're in a hotel in Salamanca. And we were very surprised to see that he had prepared only 3 apartment showings for us. Excuse me 1 second. I think I need to plug my phone so that I don't lose you guys. Give me 1 second. I apologize. Hang on.
Sorry, this was just the day before that Boris called me, and it was like I kind of felt his frustration, and but I think he will explain better.
Okay, saved.
Yeah.
So we met up, and then we went out to see the apartments. There were only 3. And he was very reasonable in explaining the paucity of apartments. He said, well, look, there's a plethora of apartments I could show you, but unfortunately, I know the vast majority of the landlords will just simply not rent to a student from outside the country. So I've limited the showings to only the apartments that I hope and presume will potentially rent to you. So there were 3. We saw 2 of them the day on Tuesday, and then of them, my wife and I, Natalie, liked one. Michael did not seem very much enthralled with it at all. And then the following day, we saw another apartment, and that one was in the heart of Salamanca. It was was this Chuca part of Salamanca, right? Or just close?
No. It's Chuca is another neighborhood.
It's a hair away. So this was in Chuca, and it was really a fabulous apartment, and Mike absolutely loved it. It was significantly more expensive than the one that we liked in a different part of town. But the reality was there was nothing else. So the realtor at that point said, well, you need to put your bids. And so we did. And he said, just put it in at exactly the price they're asking. That's the best choice you've got, best chance rather you've got. And we did. And that was followed by what I thought was completely ridiculous requests, such as me providing my professional CV, Michael providing his CV, me providing 3 years worth of tax returns, my banking statements, my birth certificate, my mother's picture, my grandmother's graves picture. I'm joking, of course, about it, but that was the extent of the request. And that was just to consider it. At that point, I already told him, you know what, how does the market look to buy a place here? Because this is looking really difficult, and I'm not sure if we're not better off buying it. Now, at that point, the agent explained to us that he was only representing us as a rental agent, and there is a clear separation between real estate agents who sell and who rent. And he said he was going to connect me with the one in his agency to help me with buying an apartment or a house if we so chose. Now, it became very clear that he wasn't going to do it because, of course, it was against his self-interest. He would lose any potential commissions he would earn on the apartments. But to make the long story longer, he put into two requests. The apartment that Michael loved, we weren't even honored by a reply. Nothing returned at all. The reply came back from the place that we liked, and the owner said that he was happy with the documents and the CV of Michael's and mine, and he was willing to rent to us, but he was again concerned with lack of income in Spain, and therefore he either wanted a $30,000 um, uh, bank account, excuse me, €30,000 bank account in
Yeah.
Spain, or 6 months upfront payment for his rent. We said, well, neither is really a problem, but we're not able to do it immediately now because we would have to transfer the funds from the states. But at that point, it was clear that Michael wouldn't be happy with the apartment. Again, his heart was really set on the place in Chuca.
Yeah.
And at that point, I said, you know what? Let's try and see if we can purchase one. So because the agent that we were working at wasn't really forthcoming in connecting us to anyone in his agency, I actually spoke to concierge in Villa Magna where we were staying in Rosewood, and said, "Can you connect me with a reputable real estate agent? We're trying to rapidly buy property here in Madrid." And so they did, and it was just by happenstance. It was the same agency, but they were unaware of one another. Jorge is the gentleman that was the selling agent, and he was not familiar with our agent that was showing us the apartments. Nor we initially presumed that it was a connection from Joaquin, but it wasn't. It was from the concierge. And I again provided him with the details of what we were looking for. At this point, I provided him with the price range. I provided him with locations. I provided him with really all the details. And while I did that, I then said to myself, well, I've never purchased anything abroad. This would be the first foreign real estate transaction that I'd be participating. Let me see what this entails. And I started looking, Googling it and then YouTubing it, and it became abundantly clear that Spanish bureaucracy, as is European bureaucracy in general, wasn't anything that one can just easily jump over and take on without some help. And that is when I stumbled upon your YouTube video where you very clearly, step by step, outlined what it entailed to purchase a property in Madrid.
Yeah.
And I consider myself a pretty good judge of character. I'm a physician, so I see people every day by the dozen, and I have to make decisions about what they are and who they are. And I felt very comfortable with you, with your personality, with what you presented, with what emanated from you. And I felt that you were somebody I wanted to talk to. Because again, the video were clearly defined that there were quite a few steps, and they were difficult steps that I wouldn't be able to pursue on my own, particularly in the limited time that we had. Just
Yeah.
to just to give the details, Michael's school was to start on the 16th. We were desperate for him not to be living out of the hotel, which is where he was living at the point.
Yeah.
And be prepared to immerse himself into the studies, which is what he really wants. He's very dedicated to his goal, and we wanted him to be comfortable and not worry about moving and sleeping on couches and all of those yucky things that come with not having a stable place of living.
Yeah.
So before I made the contact with you, it became clear that I needed help, and then I called you. And you made
So
it very clear to me why we were experiencing the difficulties with the agents.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, as what we're used to in the States is that in the States, if you have a real estate agent, they're either representing a buyer or a seller or both. But if they're representing both, they have very clear responsibility to you, which is mandated by the law and specific rules of ethics that they must follow, lest they want to lose their licensure, and they do. And we just did not experience that. And then when I spoke to you, you told me, look, the problem is that in Spain, the real estate agents 99% of the time represent a seller. They have no responsibility to you, and you're basically left in the wind, just
Yeah,
to
this is
defend for yourself.
yeah, it's one of the biggest problems that we have in Spain. Market is not regulated as it is in the US, where there are very specific ethical rules and legal rules that you have to follow when you attend a client to search for a property or to sell a property. So yeah, basically here agents follow 90% or 98% of the time follow their own interest in attending only the sellers. So basically, when you called me, it was kind of a blind bet, wasn't it? Because you
It
really
was
knew me
absolutely a blind
by your
bet.
video.
Yeah, it was absolutely a blind bet. I mean, it wasn't a blind bet. It was a bet that was driven by the information you provided free of charge on your video, which was very useful and could have been used by anyone. Thank you very much. But you know, that day that you and I have met was also the day that we met with our realtor for the first time. And that allowed me to see the contrast and the difference. So the realtor, Jorge, that was to show us the properties, first of all, surprised me by the fact that he sent me dozens of listings, of which I picked several. First of all, he sent me listings that would sometimes exceed my budget by 100%, that would be listings for 4-bedroom gigantic apartments, which made absolutely no sense for a student kid that doesn't need all that property to take care of. So, you know, I quickly isolated 6 properties and requested him to show those. I was very upset when he told me that only one of them was available, because it made absolutely no sense to me why he'd be sending me listings that weren't available, but he did. So when we met for the first time, we met with you, I believe, already present with us, right? Didn't you come with us? Correct.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Because I already made a contact with you by then, because I was so frustrated by the fact that that he had sent us multitude of properties not matching the description that we've given him, and then he further let us down by not having the ones he sent be available. So the first apartment he showed us was probably 150 to 200,000 over the budget that we have given him, and we disliked it intensely. And then he was able to show us another apartment, which was immediately across the street, which was a wonderful apartment, but was about 250,000 over the budget, and was again a large apartment. It was a 3-bedroom apartment. We met a lovely owner who was very welcoming, who already had an offer for basically her asking price, about just short 25,000 euros. And she wanted to maximize her return, and she wanted to give the full price. And it clearly became to us that we didn't want to spend that money. And again, burden Mike with a gigantic place to take care of. And that's when our journey with you has begun, which was on a Thursday of that week, with literally no time left. We were flying out on Monday morning. We were flying out on Monday morning. It was Labor Day in US, so we didn't need to be here on Monday. And what struck me immediately as a difference is that you very clearly understood the objectives, and everything that you have shown us matched our request. The price range was right there. The locations were right where we have set them to be, meaning between the 2 geographic locales there in Madrid. It was what we wanted. It was just a matter of finding the one that would kind of speak to us and to Michael, and finding the best.
Yeah, absolutely. The apartment search was quite fast, because I kind of understood that you were in a hurry to find something suitable for your son, and I wanted to focus on this process. Do you did you realize how the focus shifted from the first day? We saw five, I think 5 or 6 apartments
Six
the first
apartments
day.
the first day. Yeah.
Yeah, and at first we were viewing properties in areas that you and your wife liked, like Salamanca, Chamberí, and you kind of liked two of them. Actually, we made offers for them, but while we were visiting those places, I kind of felt that Michael had absolutely no feelings whatsoever with any of them. So I quickly realized that the decision maker was going to be like your son, was going to be Michael, in the sense that he was the one who was going to actually live there, and so you were going to listen to what he had to say about these properties. So
100%. This wasn't an investment property where we're blindly getting an apartment because we want to earn an equity over the years or earn rental. This was to make him be comfortable for the next minimum 4 years, because he's also considering grad school in Madrid as well, so it may be longer than that. So we needed to make sure that he was happy with where he was. And after the first day, he and Mike is, you've met him obviously, and he's quite vociferous, and he's very clear minded about what he does and does. And he let us know at the end of the day, like, hey guys, you aren't quite hitting the right notes with me. I mean, these are places they're not resonating with me, and then you're not. And this is not to make you happy. That's to make me comfortable. We agreed entirely. We said, look, absolutely. We may be making the financial decisions, but they're driven by the fact that we want to get you something that where you're comfortable, where your heart is at peace, and you can work, work and study and do what you need to do. And that's when we said, look, you may have made the offers, but let's see more, and sort of defined his criteria a little better. We knew already after seeing that wonderful very first place in Salamanca, which was the inner yard, although we loved the place, the fact that we needed good natural light, and that was, it was not negotiable. He needed to have natural light because otherwise it's a very depressing environment, particularly to a kid from Florida who's used to sun 24/7 and 365 days a year. So the very next day was the sort of the bullseye apartment, and it was phenomenal. If you remember, Nat and I arrived to the apartment just before you, and Mike and Lucia were stuck in traffic from Barajas, and walking in the apartment, I texted him and I said, "You're gonna love this place. I think
yeah, I remember.
And he walked in, and it was love at first sight. It was very instant.
Absolutely, absolutely. And how did you feel when you saw that dynamic change and realized that this property was the perfect match for him? When actually it was the first visit of the day, we had another one and we had to call to cancel it because Michael just said it's this one.
I don't want to see anything anymore. This is it.
Yeah.
And it so happened that this property that he fell in love with was actually at the bottom of our range, and it was still putting us into the consideration for golden visa, which, by the way, was never our intent. But in speaking with you and in watching your video, you made it clear that purchasing a property of the in the range that we were looking at was going to make us automatic candidates for it. And I thought that it was a very good idea, particularly considering everything that's going on in the world and U.S., et cetera, to have something, some additional sort of exit routes, so to speak. So this place in Malasaña was absolutely perfect. I mean, it was literally the least expensive place we have seen the entire time, even less expensive than the place that we all really loved but didn't have any natural light. And it had everything. It was brand new, renovated. It was very cozy. It had plenty of natural light. It was, and the neighborhood felt so much more fitting to him because it was a very youthful, very vibrant neighborhood. It wasn't like a nice, plush, quiet neighborhood that we would enjoy. It was great. And at that point, and by the way, I think it's because I'm just eternally an optimist, and because of what you exude and what I knew your expertise was and your connections was. At no point did I feel that anything was going to fall through. I just knew that everything was going to work out.
Thank you. Yeah, in fact, moving on to the negotiation part, because as you said, this apartment was in the lowest part of the range, of the price range that you gave me. But before that, the first day, there were two properties that you liked, and that same day, before we all went to bed to have a rest, because it was really a long day, we had two accepted offers for the two apartments that you liked, if you remember.
Absolutely.
One of them was agreed to reduce the listing price for about 50,000 euros, and the other one
It was
we
nearly
reduced.
10%. Yeah.
Yeah, and
It was about 8%.
yeah, the other one, it was like 20,000 euros or so, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, when we found this apartment in Malasaña that you ended up buying, I recommended you not negotiating and making an offer at the listed price. And you trusted that strategy. What were your thoughts on that recommendation at the time?
So, I as far as the apartment price, because I initially said to you, well, let's just offer 10,000 euros less, because it would still keep us within the golden visa, and it wasn't a dramatic ask for a reduction, and you specifically said to me that you wouldn't recommend it. So to me, the 10,000 euro quote unquote discount would really not be important. It was just a matter of, I kind of have this attitude that I enjoy the bargaining process a little bit. It's kind of like, I really enjoy being in a Middle Eastern bazaar. I may be looking at something that I can buy 20 times over, but it's that much sweeter when you had haggled with the with a trader and got it at 50% less, and everybody's happy, and it was a fun process. But here, he said, look, I feel that you may be risking this listing. You just came on the market, and it was really just quite great. And there was nothing, in the last 2 days of our acquaintance that led me to believe that you would lead me astray. I knew that this was a recommendation that was being made in earnest. And I actually am a big fan of real estate in the US, and I actually watch a few real estate shows. And I know that when agents make these recommendations, particularly when they're representing the buyer, it's with the interest of the buyer in mind. And I know that you weren't being driven by commissions, because you work for a flat fee, and you were just trying to guide me in a right direction to avoid a loss of something that we so much like so much. So that was a very easy decision, and it proved instantly to be the correct decision, because as we learned very shortly, there was another offer made within the same time frame, just a few thousand euros less, and they of course went with our offer because of cash offer with no financing and etc. So your advice proved absolutely correct, and thank you for it.
It's a very good point, the one that you just said, because of course it's been a real success, and we're very proud of what we have done. I will introduce you in a minute to Katia, which has been part of this great process. But it's true that you always have to take some things into consideration when realizing that doing such a process in 15 days is not so easy. One of them is that Boris and his family had a real huge strength and it is that they had the cash. They could pay the apartment straight away. If not, they couldn't even opt for the golden visa anyway. But they had the cash. If you have to ask for a mortgage, forget about doing this in 15 days. Still, it was an amazing process, and it was
incredibly fast.
Yeah. So
because what we haven't spoken about is, of course, the fact that in order for one to acquire a place, and that's where, of course, Katia came in, we needed to now have a bank account, we needed to now have an NIE, we needed to have a variety of documents verified and translated on apostille. I mean, it's a European bureaucratic process, and it had to be tackled head on. And one of the biggest benefits of our finding you wasn't just the fact that you were wonderful and you understood exactly what we needed, but you also were able to connect us with the right people to have this process be on rails and just proceed in such a smooth fashion to completion.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this wouldn't have been possible without the help of Katia. She's an outstanding attorney. Let me introduce you to her and to let her tell us how this process was and what she does. Hi, Katia. Thank you very much for joining us. Oh, we can't hear you, Katia. I think you have your micro.
Okay, right now?
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Katia.
Thank you, Pablo, for organizing this live and, of course, for inviting me. And it's a pleasure to be here with you. And, of course, a pleasure to greet you again, Boris. It was a long time no speak, few days.
So, Katia, could you briefly introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your experience with immigration and real estate law in Spain, specifically with international clients?
Yes, of course. So, as you told already, I'm a lawyer, actually specialized in immigration, real estate, and business investment, and global mobility in general. It's true that immigration is usually related to all kind of permits and nationality, which also I take care of course. But it's true that my specialty goes beyond that. And I focus a lot on advising and accompanying people when entering to Spain market, the business one, of course, but also especially in relation to the real estate. And we are based in Madrid. Also, I really love Madrid. I mean, I lived in other cities in Spain, but as you told also, Pablo, every day I just get in love with the city. And being also one of the most attractive cities in Spain, actually, right now for the foreigners. But it's true that we also work in the whole of the Spain as required by our clients. Actually, nowadays, the real estate, the Spanish real estate market attracts a lot of foreigners for many reasons, starting with moving to Spain and establishing your life here, or ensure a good education for the children. Like Mike, thanks to the Spanish education, the masters, I also study here. So I can assure that here we have a really great education faculties. And so being a place to live, it's one of the pillars, and also ending up being one of the safest investments we have today, even if you just want to ensure a profit from your income. So that's why the foreigners now focus on Spain.
It's true. It's one of the biggest issues that we can affront in Spanish. In Spain, the bureaucracy is crazy. From a legal perspective, Katia, what are the most challenging aspects for foreign clients looking to purchase a property in Spain? I mean, what are the most legal obstacles you encounter?
Perhaps I would say that it's like lack on information about the steps that are necessary to carry out of purchase in Spain. When people come, they don't have any idea. When they come, it just they come to buy a property. They are more interested in finding something that they really like and meets all the requirements that they have in mind. But it's true that behind every purchase process, there are several steps to be taken for the purchase to be completed successfully by a foreigner client. And if they are not carried out, neither the notary nor the register will proceed to sign and register the purchase. So it's very important to have this information, and also very important, for example, the purpose for which a property is purchased, and depending on this, the necessary legal procedures to be carried out for the purchase may be different, because buying a property for the investment, it's not the same as buying a property for your own use, for living there. For example, one of the most and extremely important points when buying a property is to be able to prove where the money comes from, and to be able to do it in the time foreseen. As you remember, we signed a contract in the reservation contract that have times that we have to comply with. And that times are limited. So we have to comply every step in that time. And also the money, the funds with which you're going to buy have to be in Spain, in the Spanish bank account. As Boris already mentioned, you have to open the bank account. You have to ask for an NIE number that you can't operate without it. So it's again the time. It's not actually like a legal problem to say that time is the challenge. But you have to comply with a lot of requirements that you don't have in mind and don't even imagine that you have to do when you come to buy a property in Spain.
Absolutely, yeah. And what about the golden visa? How complicated is it to manage it from outside Spain? Because I'm aware that Boris, you managed to do it with Katia even while you were not here, because you had to, as you said before, you had to go on next Monday after we met.
Exactly.
And so it wasn't it wasn't very easy. And what advice do you would you give families considering this path to residency?
About your question, whether it's complicated or not, it's not so easy to answer, because every case is very, very different. As you remember, Boris, we met on Sunday, not Labor Day.
Thank
actually.
you very much. Yeah, and you were just coming from vacation.
Exactly, but the thing is that we are very used to foreign clients, so we adapt ourselves for that. And actually, especially because of that, this was exactly the reason why we built it as structured, as solid as possible, to be able to take care of practically everything on the behalf of the client, regardless of where it's located, not needing his presence during the process in Spain. We try to take care, or we take care actually of it, and keep the client up to date on the steps to be taken in the shortest possible time. So sometimes it's more complicated than other times, but it's true that we try to smooth it for the client, so he doesn't have to be even here and take off everything in his absence in the limited times.
Absolutely. And how do you do that? Do you ask for how do you call that?
For the power of attorney, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In order to act on behalf of the client, we need a document, an official one, not an authorization that you sign, and that's it. We need it's called power of attorney because it's signed before a notary, official notary. And normally, if the client is here, for example, and we have time, we can go to the notary here in Spain. There is no problem. But when we have very tight times, like with Boris happened, so we met on Sunday and Monday he already had to leave. What we have done, we have online procedure to do that. We work with notarians actually in the United States, that we just arrange everything. I mean, I send all the documents that we need to be signed. I prepare everything adapted to the client, and then the client is just called to sign it online with the notary, and then we apostille that and then send it directly to my office. So more or less it took like 5 days, if I'm not wrong, Boris, more or less.
May have been even quicker than that, but
maybe
it was an incredibly smooth process. As you remember, when we met on Sunday, and it was Natalie, Michael, and I said, well, of course Natalie can stay behind, but ideally we would both leave so we can attend to the business in US. And you said, well, you don't have to stay. We can. And I said, well, I would entrust you with the entire process. How do we do it? As in signing the contract, as in opening the bank accounts, etc. And again, you came highly recommended from Pablo, who at this point I already felt was the absolute right pick. So, and at this point I couldn't. There's zero reservation in me recommending either Pablo or you, Katia, to anyone. I think that you are absolutely stellar throughout the entire process, went far and beyond the call of duty, so to speak. But you clearly define it and say, hey, if you are entrusting me this process, we can do everything from here while you're in the States, and you'll continue to do your thing, I'll do my thing. And you, of course, put me in touch with the appropriate services here in the States, who were very much dialed in the process and very much connected with you. So everything worked absolutely the smoothest one can imagine. Again, if there are any compatriots of mine that are listening to this or will be viewing this in the future, I could not recommend with both Katia and Pablo with any greater enthusiasm. It's just they were absolutely stellar in doing what they promised to do, and again, far beyond that as well. But within a few days, we were able to generate the power of attorney that was legally valid in Spain, and allowed Katia to open bank accounts for us and subsequently complete the transaction for us.
Exactly.
And it's been perfect.
Yeah.
And also because I want to underline that we work on trust. It's very important on these procedures to the client to trust us, because I manage all the purchase. It's money, it's time. There's a lot of responsibility. So if the client trusts, so it's easier to do everything. So I also want to thank you to trust us immediately. I understand that because you first met Pablo. It's an outstanding professional. So I understood that's why you are trusting so much to me. That's great, but it makes the process really easier when the both sides are on the same page.
Absolutely. And Katia, in your experience, what are the most common mistakes that you see international clients making when trying to buy a property in Spain, and how can they avoid them?
Actually, the first advice I would like to make, it's regarding the golden visa thing. Although it sounds trivial, but I would like to say that it's better to seek professional help for the first time. It may sound very easy. If I only have to invest in a property and that's it. It's not that simple here, since it plays a very important role, the fact of which property to buy, the requirements to be met, and the way to acquire it so that it can be used for apply for the golden visa. If you proceed with the purchase without this advice of specialized professional, you can find yourself in a situation in which you have spent a lot of money that will not help you to apply to residence in question. So that will be a pity. That is regarding the golden visa. But in general terms, I would like to say that the most making mistake is acting without sorry, do you hear me? Yeah, I think that for a moment
You're back.
So the mistake is acting without the prior information about the market, the areas and the type of the properties, and the sincerity. This is where I consider that you, Pablo, play a very, very important role. I really think that it's very important to have a professional who know the market very well to be able to avoid mistakes, for example, of buying a property that it's not a very profitable area or with an extremely high price when it's not the market price due to lack of knowledge, which is normal for a foreigner that haven't lived in Spain, haven't seen the market, that doesn't know how it works. So it's very important before signing any reservation document is to know the state of the property also and the charges that it may have in order not to acquire responsibilities or property that you may not be able to do later in the full ownership. That is also not known by the foreigner that come. This will be the most important thing to pay attention to under my point of view, actually.
Absolutely. Do you agree, Boris?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So, Boris, we've talked about other aspects of the process that go beyond simply purchasing this apartment, like helping Michael settle into his new home. You mentioned also in your wonderful review in Trustpilot that I read the other day, and I have to thank you for that. You mentioned you mentioned that I assisted also with getting
Currency.
setting up the utilities and giving advice about life in Madrid. Do you think that my service so then went beyond of what is just buying a property?
100%.
Yeah.
But the one thing that we haven't really talked about is where you were extremely useful, and frankly speaking, again, because I haven't had any transactions, foreign transactions in the past, was dealing with currency transfer. Because had you not introduced me to currency for you, I would have simply purchased the euros through the bank, through my bank, and as I now realize, it would have cost me tens of thousands of dollars in value lost. So
Absolutely.
one of the biggest recommendations, which made me money, to be honest, is you connecting me with Currency for You, with Jason. And when I compared the cost of the euro purchase that I would have made in my bank to what it cost me through Currencies for You, was $30,000 less for the same amount of euros. So there was an incredible reference that you gave, and again, this was me trusting you, because again, this was yet another service completely, and this was they're based in London. But coming from you and giving a reference from you where you said that you've dealt plenty with them and they've always come through for your clients, it was at that point no longer a question in my mind. I knew that I could trust them, etc. And I'm very happy I did. Again, saved me $30,000. But again, as far as the advice regarding the life in Madrid and everything Madrid and setting up utilities, you could have walked away from me and my family the moment that I transferred you your fee, which was quite a while back, but you remained available to Mike to help and set up the utilities, which of course was again yet another bureaucratic process that required a letter from me allowing him to do so. You were absolutely wonderful, and you continue to remain a wonderful source for him as somebody to bounce off questions and ideas, again, for somebody who's just learning life in a foreign country in a big foreign city, despite having a girlfriend who's just a 19-year-old girl like he is. So I can't thank you enough, and neither can he. And he's now 2 weeks into school, and he's absolutely loving every single day. He's immersed in his studies. He's loving being in his apartment. He's loving sort of getting it set up and just feeling like it's his own place. It's absolutely wonderful.
That's music to my ears. I absolutely love to see that he's happy here, and I have to say that I don't go beyond my duties with all my clients. I kind of have this maybe Mediterranean character that makes me like have more empathy or go beyond my duties only with those people that I have like certain connection with, and we had it. I mean, it was so pleasant, so lovely to work with you, that for me it was just a pleasure to help Michael settle in the city and help him with that. So I think right now we've gone through the whole process. We finally made it in 15 days, as you said, and it was it was crazy 15 days because we were talking day and night every single day to see how it was going, but we did it. And what advice would you give to someone thinking of purchasing a property in Madrid or Spain in general? Is there anything that you wish you had known from the start? Boris?
Well, I mean, of course, I wish I had. Well, first of all, I wish I had known that the rental property market is as insane as it is.
It is.
And to be honest with you, flying to Madrid, I already said if it just continues to act in such an absolutely weird way, and where I'm just going to go ahead and purchase a property, although my wife was against it because she said it was a bit of a risky bet on Michael in the sense that he's starting the school. How do we know he's actually going to do it for the next 4 years? And so I looked at him and I said, Mike, I'm buying you a place. You're staying here for a minimum of 4 years. You're completing a degree here. You're not coming back. This is it. But the advice is that you're much better off finding a trusted professional like Pablo. The process is complex enough to be worth the amount of money you will have spent on hiring somebody trustworthy, Pablo specifically. And again, now that I'm looking at having completed the process, having you in my corner actually allowed me to save money rather than lose money. And there's absolutely zero chance I would have been able to do it on my own, and not in that period of time. Just judging from, because Michael, as I told you guys, has done the process on his own of acquiring his NIEs and transferring his diplomas and all of that. It has taken him months, and he has suffered multiple rejections from one bureaucrat asking for one thing, subsequently resending, and another bureaucrat telling him it was the wrong thing. It was back and forth process for months. He literally 5 days before school starting, still had no 100% confirmation that I've accepted his diplomas. And it kept going back and forth between the States and here, just trying to get everything up a style, etc. But so what he has gone through, I was certainly not willing to go through, A, because I don't have the time, B, because time is money, and C, because I don't have the patience to tolerate this nonsense. And nor the time once again. So absolutely, a professional in your corner, Katia, Pablo, Jason. This is what you need. It's an absolute must. If you're somebody who's willing to spend money on a property, you should be willing to spend money on good professionals who will not lead you astray, who will take you to the promised land as it may be, and complete it for you in a timely fashion, without snags, and with great advice. So again, my instincts were correct. They were, perhaps somebody would think, reckless because of how I've gotten there. But again, they've served me well over a lifetime, and I relied on them again and again to good outcome. Now those who are watching it don't have to rely on their instincts. They can rely on really very positive experience, which I don't think would be a one-off. I really could never see Pablo or Katia to be people to expect that they would, pardon me, screw you. I mean, I think there will always be in your corner. That's just how I feel. These are special kinds of people.
Wow, thank you very much, Boris.
Yeah.
Look, we have a comment. I wouldn't expect to have a comment because I have such a small community, but we do have a comment from Tir, or TIR. He says, "Hi guys, I know this is complicated, but is there a checklist for someone coming from Mexico or the States that is interested in investing in Spain?" Well, absolutely, yes, there is a checklist, but as Katia said before, it will depend on the kind of purchase, on kind of purchase that you want to make, and the reason and the purpose for this purchase. It's not if it's just for investment, or if it's for investment for like short-term rentals, but then you also want to enjoy that property in the summer or wherever. It basically depends, but there is a checklist. We can have another live or do another video, Katia and I, explaining the process. But of course, yeah, the Yeah, part-time rentals. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the most common issues that we explore, and of course we can help. There is like the typical checklist that you can do, but of course to do this it would be necessary like a personal interview with you to know exactly what you want, what you're looking for, and from that point to advise you properly. Okay, so I if you want, you can like send me an email or whatever. You have it at the website, livinginmadridspain.com, and we can set up that interview if you want. Okay, so Katia, Boris, thank you very much for joining this live. It's been a real pleasure to have you both here. I don't know if you want to share anything else with the audience.
Just on my side, just of course, thank you, Pablo, again for this live. I think it's very useful for the people like happened with Boris that have seen your videos, and now they will be able to see the live person not speaking, and to see the professionals and find themselves here. And also, I really want to thank you, Boris, for your words. Pablo will agree with me for sure that we are working for that. To see the people happy, to see them achieve the objective they have, and to make true what you are seeking for. Actually, so thank you very much.
And I just want to express gratitude to you guys both, and express my utter belief that you will deliver that same service and those outcomes to others. I'm sure the hurdles may be different, but I know that you're dedicated professionals and you work to meet the challenges and to deliver to people that you work with. So yeah, the proof is in the pudding. It's right there. I mean, there's no guessing here.
Well, once again, thank you very much to both of you for joining this live. This brings us to the end of today's live stream. I mean, it's been such a I think it's been interesting and good content for all people looking or watching this transmission. And for all of those who watch it afterwards, I will leave it in my channel, of course. And a huge thank once again to Boris for sharing his experience, to Katia for joining us and offering such a valuable insights. It's been a pleasure working with you both, of course, and I'm sure that your story will inspire and help many others looking for a move to make a move to Madrid or to invest here. If any of you are watching and considering relocating or investing in Madrid, or need help navigating this process as Boris had, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find all my content, all my contact details in the description down below. I will leave it here. And of course, I will absolutely love to help you and to make your transition smooth and hassle-free. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you found this helpful, subscribe to the channel for more videos on living and investing in Madrid. And of course, don't forget to ring that bell so you never miss up an update. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Hasta la vista.